demonstrate some ski drills that I've enjoyed and have made me a lot better skier. And the focus of the drill is to learn how to transfer your weight from one foot 100% to the other foot, and then of course back to the other foot. The idea is this will help us create better turns. So we want generally our weight to be on the outside foot when turning. So to get there, I'm going to show you 3 primary drills that will develop this in what I think is a very fast way. Still will take some work, but it'll get you there. So the 3 approaches are focused on the 3 different axes. The first axis is the primary thing we're trying to achieve. It's a left and right axis, so your side to side axis. The second axis is the vertical axis, so the up and down axis. And the third axis is the forward and backwards axis. So if we focus on the first axis, our objective is to get 100% transferred weight, and the quickest way to do that is to effectively hop. So if we start on this leg, we're going to hop to the other leg. As you can see, it's a very slight hop. I'm not actually leaving the ground, or at least I'm not trying to leave the ground, but I am pushing off the toe as if I were hopping. Here I'm going to leave the ground to show you. 1, 2. So effectively, if I leave the ground and put all my weight on one side, it's clear that I have all my weight on one foot. Now I'm going to attempt to achieve the same thing here. All my weight on one foot without leaving the ground. I can test it to show that I've actually achieved the weight transfer. But it's actually more challenging to do this without actually leaving the ground than it is with leaving the ground. Now, why don't we want to leave the ground? Because we want our skis on the snow. We get better grip if we can keep our skis on the snow at all times. So that's the first approach. The first approach was a focus on left and right, and we achieved that by pushing off the toe primarily in a slightly upward fashion, but the focus was not upward. It made it simple because, of course, we have to unweight. So in order to unweight, we need some up and down. So we hop to unweight, and we push off the toe. The second one, the focus is now going to be on the vertical axis, and instead of pushing off slightly, we're actually going to sink during the transfer. We're going to sink, and at the end, come up. So we're going to go down, and then up, down, and up. This is going to strengthen our vertical axis. So we can start here, we go down, we sink, and then we come up. And at the end, we are vertical on this full leg. Our hip, our knee straightened, our hip is aligned. We're in a good vertical stance. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. What this will develop is a strong up at the end here, and you'll notice that we're not hopping off our toes in the beginning. We might have a slight hop at the end as we actually push off of our heel. Here, there's a bounce from the heel. That's how we achieve that axis, is the heel. If you can bounce in your position to bounce, that's your verification that you've achieved a good vertical axis. Can you bend that knee easily and hop on it in place, all while being able to lift the opposite foot, because you've, of course, achieved 100% transfer. So we've done our left-right via left-right, which was a slide up and down, slide up and down. Now we just did a slide down and up, down and up, or actually not slight, but a lot of down and up. And now our third axis will be our front and back axes. So we're going to achieve the weight transfer by focusing on that. We're going to start here, and we're going to move our knees forward and then backwards. Now we're transferred. Check it, lifting. Forward and backwards. Forward and backwards. One of the objectives of this third drill is to keep our skis on the snow even longer. We're attempting to eliminate all vertical movement and replacing it with front and back movement to keep our weight on the snow. Every time we have slight vertical movement, we lose, there's a moment of unweighting, and if there's unweighting, you now no longer have grip on the snow and you're going to travel across the snow in directions you may not want to. So we're going to keep our weight, we're going to attempt to keep it at a level like this, and we're going to try to get that level through the front and back motion. It's hard to keep a perfect level, but that should be your objective. Transferred. Transferred. One way to see the front and back and to think about the foot is the rolling. Instead of just being toe or heel focused, here we focus on the heel to toe and then toe to heel movement. Starts with a heel to toe, ends with a toe to heel. Heel to toe, toe to heel. So that's how we achieve front and back movement, by rolling the foot. The knees get maximum flex forward and back. To take another drill and just to improve, we're going to add in a concept of opening and closing. It's not an axis concept, but more a body concept. Body closes in and out. And we're going to combine those so that we have closing and opening. One side is going to be closing, while the other side is going to be opening. So we're going to do that via figure eights that we're going to draw with our hips. A flat figure eight. So if your figure eight would be here vertically, we're going to take it, turn it to the other axis and on its side. And we're going to draw the figure eight as if it were drawn on the ground instead of on a wall. Maybe a little closer to an infinity sign. So the figure eight is achieved by starting on one foot and attempting to face the opposite direction, rolling around the hip, and then transferring to the other foot. Now I'm facing over there, and my weight is on this foot. I can lift. I'm going to pivot around this hip, so from the front to the back. Now I'm at the back of the hip. I'm going to push over to the front of the opposite hips. So I go from the rear of the old foot to the front of the new foot. Now to the rear of the new foot, back to the front of the new foot. Rear of the old foot, front of the new foot. This, similar to the left and right, should keep your skis on the snow most of the time, because we're not ideally getting any vertical motion. We're just getting a closing, this side of the body's closing, and an opening on the opposite side. I'm going to close this side and open this side. Close this side, open this side. Close and open. We're going to do the opposite now. We can do the opening and closing via a figure eight or infinity sign that goes in the opposite direction. Previously we were sort of moving to the rear after the transfer. Now we're going to move forward, and draw the infinity infinity in the opposite direction. So we're going to come forward, transfer weight, and then come forward. Transfer weight by going to the rear, come forward. Transfer weight to the rear, forward. Here we're going to close and open. Now we're going to close and open. So we're still opening and closing, but we're doing it in the opposite directions. All right, once you've mastered those, and if you may note, I started with extremely wide stances. Get it as far as you really can probably do these drills. More than your shoulder length, significantly more, at least 1.5 times if you can, go to 2. My legs aren't that long. But by making large movements, we can guarantee that we're learning the movement more with our bigger muscles, such as our hips primarily, but also our knees and our ankles. But starting on that, we're going to, after you've achieved the large movements, we're going to make it medium movements. Bring your knees in, your feet in. Bring them close to shoulder width, maybe a little more, and start your drills. Here you can see I'm doing a left-right focus, which starts with a slight hop almost. Then I'm going to move to my down and up, so my vertical focus. After the vertical focus, once again, I can do my front-back focus. These actually become more difficult in many ways as they get smaller. I would call this a medium versus the large movements which we started with. Then I'm going to move to a smaller movement, which is just inside maybe shoulder length, not quite feet together, but pretty darn close. This is a lot harder skill-wise. It takes less muscle, but it takes more coordination and feel. This is a left-right focus, or I'm launching off the feet, the toes of the feet. All right. Now I'm going to do the down, up, onto the heel, 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 heel. All right. Move to front and back. Knees come forward to make the transfer. Balance is harder at this level. And those are the 3 axes. We're going to make the 4th axis, we're going to bring it in from, we had started with large, we went to medium, now we're going to bring it in to small and put our feet together. Left and right, off the toes. Now we're going to go down and up, with a focus on the heel, heel, heel. This should get faster as you're smaller. It's harder to get faster, but it will enable faster with good practice. Because you're moving less. If you're moving less, we can do the transfers faster. Now, front and back. Thank you.